once my grandfather got sick with prostate cancer, I rebelled. I just really rebelled, and I got put out. That's when the prostitution started. I didn't consider prostitution. I considered it surviving, because I was 16, no education, nothing like that. So I was out on the street.
I was living in abandoned houses, under bridges, in tents. I lived pretty much amongst the street people, kind of a street family. And at 12, I was arrested with my friend. We were hitchhiking, and we got caught with syringes. That's when I first started shooting dope.
This is where I used to turn tricks at. Pretty much I had my own motel room here. I've mostly seen people off a back page where I did in calls and out calls, where I would go to them or they would come here to me. Over here where we're walking to, this is where I would turn my tricks, like when I didn't have a motel room, and most of the guys off a back page where they would want me to meet them behind here. This is pretty much where I had sex at and gave head at. And then when I was done, and like I said, I would get back in the car and they would take me back to my ex-abuser.
And a man came in my bar, and I was struggling for money. And he told me how beautiful I was. And he told me, girl, you're in the wrong, you're in the wrong area. You know how much you could be making? And I was like, well, I don't know what you mean. You know, he had gold teeth and he had a lot of pretty women with him. So I had no idea he was a pimp. So I didn't see any danger in it. He said, come with me to this hotel room and I'll show you some things. Well, that was the beginning of being trafficked. That was the beginning of prostitution.
This is where I used to turn tricks at Motel 6, which is in room 115. This is where I used to do my back page call. It's an escort service where men call you to purchase you.
Hey, is this Tammy? Yeah, found you on Backpages. Just wondering how much do you charge just to come down and just chat for a while? So me and my buddies are here. Just for talking. Hey, Alia? Hey, I found you on Backpages. I wonder if you could come out and talk or something for a while. She apparently wasn't very fond of the idea.
The only time I would really leave this motel is if I had a call where I had to go to an out call.
And a girl I knew from the projects came, and her hair was done, her nails was done, she had jewelry, cute clothes on. She's like, I live in Atlanta with, I don't want to say his name, but he had turned out to be her pimp. And I didn't know what really definition of pimps were at the time. It was her boyfriend that knew, and they were staying in Atlanta. She said, we work and dance in the club, don't you know how to dance? And she made everything sound so good. You get your hair done, nails done, jewelry, we live in a townhouse, we ride, we eat out every day. But once I got from Memphis to Atlanta, Georgia, it was a whole nother story.
I did have an incident when I was younger where probably like 6 or 7, and I was molested by one of my brother's friends. But I mean, that was taken care of. You know, I don't think it was taken care of the way it should have been, but it was addressed and brought out so that it didn't happen again. Mm-hmm. But and then I was like, age of 13, I was date raped by a friend.
And I was mentally, verbally, physically, emotionally abused by my mother. I was beaten a lot, she used whatever she could get her hands on to beat me.
An abusive foster house. The foster dad would sexually touch me from the time I was 3 until I got adopted.
I was
sexually abused at the age of 5, and it continued till I was 12, and he passed then. I tried to tell my mother, but she was stuck in her own hurts, habits, and hang-ups. And from there, it was thinking that that's how I needed to be treated. And that led me on to more abuse from men, broken relationships, things like that.
It started when I was 11. Prior to that was the sexual abuse from my stepfathers. I went through a trial when I was 11. Was molested by my friend's father.
When I was a little girl, I did not grow up. I did not say when I grow up, I want to be a prostitute. I want to do that. I think that the first time it happened, there was not a gun to my head, but there wasn't really a choice either. The controlling, manipulative, verbal, if you're vulnerable, I was so vulnerable that it was easy to believe the lies that they told me. It was easy to believe that my dad loved me, because that's all I ever wanted, was for my dad to love me.
What do you feel like you needed in that moment?
I just had to survive. That's all I needed. I didn't even want love anymore. I didn't even expect it. I didn't care about money, and I didn't belong anywhere else. And I just wanted him to love me. So I was just trying to survive. I mean, it was either that or get out of his truck and get in the truck with another man. And I knew how dangerous that could be. So when he would leave me behind at different truck stops, I would think about walking up to one of the other trucks and asking them for help, knowing one of them had to be a good guy. But I couldn't, because I was afraid they might rape me or something. So I'd just sit there with my backpack and look around and hope my dad would come back and get me. Because at least I knew what to expect from my dad.
Well, I started in the Vice Unit, Special Investigations Division 4 years ago. And when we started this, when I started in the business, I realized there was something going on. We were starting to see a pattern of girls coming that we were arresting with their eyes knocked out of their heads, or scared to death when we started saying, who else is coming in the room? No, nobody. So it was obvious that there was something going on. So I met with some groups of friends of mine at the FBI and said, hey, we've got something else going on here. So at that point, last of December 2012 to the 1st of January 3rd, we formed a Denied Innocence Task Force team. And it's made up mainly of Little Rock, FBI, North Little Rock, Platte County, and a few other surrounding areas right here in the central Little Rock. And to see if that was a major issue here in Little Rock. Well, since that time, we've made numerous cases. And if I gave you a number right now, I'd be lying, but I'm thinking somewhere between 12 and 15 cases in the last about 2 years. We didn't figure that we would get 4 cases in the first year, but at the time, we'd got 9 in the first half.
Some of it is force. It's a lot of physical abuse, and they keep the victim submissive through force. Some of it is they coerce them. There's boyfriend pimps who begin to date the girl and work them into the trap that way. And there's also a grooming process where they take care of the girl, buy her things, and then convince her to go ahead and start turning tricks or prostituting to keep the money coming in. Look how good you're doing. Because of you, we have these nice things. And if you don't do that, we can't pay the light bill, and we're depending on you, that type of thing.
I've been run over by cars. I've had my teeth knocked out, my head busted. I've had my arm broken. When I got ran over by the car, I fractured 4 bones in my neck. I broke both sides of my pelvis bone. I lacerated my kidney. I had to wear a 35-pound metal neck brace on my neck. I had to learn how to walk, bend over, make a bed, everything. I had to learn everything over again.
But once they get in this world, they finally realize that it's probably not what they really want and trying to find some way out. Usually a pimp will come along, or a boyfriend, that's better known as boyfriend as well, and start saying he'll promise them the world to keep doing this because it's a steady flow of money into his pocket, into her pocket. He promises her the moon. And like I said, I'm going to use this word her and him a lot because it's just a gender type deal and it's nothing meaning to against one or the other. But it's an endless supply of revenue. Once I sell you a rock of cocaine, you're going to use it and you'll be gone in 5 minutes. A girl's always there. So the pimps know that. They're reusable. And that's a bad term, but you know what I'm saying. They're a constant source. They're there. They're not going to go away provided that they're treated halfway decent and get what they need. But a rock of cocaine's going to be gone. This one you can use over and over and over again.
I've been raped before through years of my life and sexually abused. But I was raped 2 months ago on September 10th at 3:46 a.m. That lasted 3 hours.
And I got raped in my posterior over and over again. I still suffer from not being able to hold my bowels.
When someone is trapped in human trafficking, the mind trap is probably more serious a lot of times than the actual physical restraint itself. In other words, they can be locked into a room or locked into an area and not allowed to leave outside of the pimp's sight or whatever. But the mental, the fear, the guilt and the shame, the different emotional restraint is much more severe actually than typically the physical restraint. And I'm sure that you've heard of the term Stockholm Syndrome. After a while, the girls or boys actually sometimes develop that relationship with their trafficker to where they feel a certain loyalty to the actual trafficker because the trafficker has mind manipulated them into believing that maybe they're the favorite, they're the top money maker, maybe that they really do love them, even though sometimes they're very abusive. So it's a very convoluted. It's not very simplistic and streamlined. It's very convoluted and complex. And a lot of times, a girl is asked, "Why don't you just leave?" Sometimes they don't know where else to go, especially if they come from a family or if it's their family that's pimping them out. Where are they going to go? What are they going to do? And they don't always know that there are resources or that there are safe places. And that makes even more of a trap, especially if they're lied to again and said, it's more dangerous out there. The others are a lot meaner than I am. What you've got here is good. I take good care of you.
The lowest point was when I was climbing out of my dad's 18-wheeler in my shorts and my heels. And the ladies across the street got up and walked inside, shook their heads. I attempted to commit suicide 3 days later.
The simple fact of the matter is, most women do not want to be prostitutes. They are being prostituted out. And even Americans think when we drive down the street and we see a girl out walking, people have a tendency to turn up their nose to her and call her trash, and people even throw things or spit or call names or whatever. But the thing is that most of the time those women do not want to be out there. And they're already beat down, they're already ridiculed, they're already full of guilt and shame, and then we drive past them and call them names. It makes them feel even worse. And I can tell you from personal experience, all the beatings and rapes I suffered were not near as bad as the woman who drove past me and threw trash at me and called me names. And that hurt because I was already so beat up, and I was 14 years old I didn't know what else to do. But I was already so beat up physically and emotionally and sexually, and for her to do that, it bottomed me out. I mean, I truly felt worthless. So I think that one of our responsibilities really and truly is to open our eyes and see what's going on around us and recognize the fact that it is a problem from all directions. It's a problem that people are buying little girls for sex. It's a problem that people are selling other human beings for sex. It's a problem that we drive past them and think that they're doing it on their own accord, when a lot of times they're not. And it's a huge problem for the victim, who is treated as a criminal. So the whole thing has got to change. The whole mindset of the whole country and the whole world has got to change for it to be abolished. It's an age-old problem with a new name, and it still stands as a huge problem, and we need to do something about it.
If there's any indication that there's any type of, like you said, an adult or a family member or a cousin or sister or anything down the line that are actually trafficking these people or even prostituting them out. And I think the buzzword human trafficking getting really, really overused right now because it's kind of the buzzword. But if they just hear them, my Uncle Smith's prostituting out little Debbie, I need to know about that. Not if I can check up on it and find out, make sure whether or not it's going to happen. If we can do a little bit of a small investigation and find out it's all, BS, that's one thing. But if there's even a less than 1% it's true, I need to know about it because we need to get it stopped. And the families are where a lot of that's going to happen. Even if it isn't you calling on your sister. But if you hear something's going on, you tell a buddy, let that buddy call me.
PATH was founded in June of 2011, and it's primarily because I saw a need in the community. I talked to law enforcement, said if there was any one thing that you could have, what would that be? And they said, we need a place to put the girls. And so that's the reason that we started a shelter. So we started the first shelter in Arkansas in October of 2012.
I've only been here, 3 weeks now, but it's the best decision I think I've made in my entire life. I'm right where I'm supposed to be. This is God's ultimate plan for me.
Either in the shelter or outside of the shelter, we're able to take care of all the girls' needs. So they get, we do a physical assessment. We take them to the physician. They get a full physical assessment. They get treated for everything from STDs to a broken jaw. We have dentists that see the girls for free. We have therapists all doing pro bono work. We have a lot of great folks that walk along beside us that can provide legal aid if they need it. They do attend recovery programs. We have a level program where they come out on level 1, and then they earn more privileges and more responsibilities as they go through the program. After they've spent an amount of time in the shelter, they get a part-time job and later a full-time job. And they are required to save 80% of their income, and then they go into a community reintegration phase where they live in a transitional home with a residential advisor and work full-time and save their money until they're able to get out on their own. We help them get furniture, get their bank account. We do require that they establish a new network of friends. A lot of times these girls have no network of friends other than the people that they were either pimping out with or doing drugs with, and so they just don't have a healthy group of people around them. So we require that they get a sponsor through the Celebrate Recovery Program, a life mentor, somebody who's going to walk through life with them, even after they leave PATH. So when they get back out into the world, accountability partners, friends. So by the time they leave us, besides just having the furniture and the apartment and the bank account and the job, they have this whole new set of friends. So they've left the old life far behind and they've got a brand new life built. That's what has that secret to success for them. We don't just turn them out to the streets and say, have a nice life. I hope that worked for you.
More than something. I'm not less than nothing, and it's just knowing that you can overcome and that you are overcoming those obstacles and that you're not out there and you don't have to experience, or those, witnessing somebody else getting beat down or you getting beat down or worrying about being stabbed or shot or killed or something like that, or worrying about, being raped and things like that. I mean, it just feels better knowing that you're in a secure location and you can actually feel the love and know that you are loved. It's not false. It's not a mask, and you can be yourself. You can cry if you have to cry. You can laugh if you have to laugh. You can express your feelings. I mean, you can talk about this, you can talk about that, and knowing that you have that help and that support, I mean, it makes a lot of difference.
I, at the time, did not believe that there was a God because of what I had gone through. And I had questions. Why did God let this happen to me? Why did it continue all of my life? I didn't know Him. I didn't want to know Him. I criticized people who did go to church and believe in Him. When I came to Path, I was introduced and I was saved and baptized, and it's absolutely wonderful that I've gotten to know God. God has got me through. God is the reason why I'm not dead.
I see now that love is not a feeling. Love is not a flutter in your heart. It's not sex. It's not passion. To me, love is forgiveness. It's compromising. For me now, love reminds me of a Savior, of eternal life, something beautiful, divine. For now, I think love is an act, but not an act of groping or feeling or any of that sick stuff. It's an act of forgiving and being compassionate and offering grace. Because even though we don't deserve it, He gives us grace. So we give grace to other people.
Based on your decision to be a lifelong follower of Jesus Christ, it is my honor and privilege tonight, Louise, to baptize you in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Based on your decision to be a lifelong follower of Jesus Christ, it is my honor and privilege with Louise tonight to baptize you in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. And as you are faithful and obedient to Him, even just like you are in this moment, your future is amazing.
Thank you.
I'm proud of it. And tonight, it's my pleasure and my honor. Oh, come on and hug me. We got to baptize you. It's our privilege tonight to baptize you in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Hallelujah.
Oh my God.
Excuse us.
I love you. Hi, ladies. I'm not nervous because I recognize most of you. So, as a child, my home was unstable and abusive. Hurricane Katrina ruined my house and was devastating to our family. My mother committed suicide shortly after.
My adopted mom and I had a lot of problems, mostly because of the anger and hurt of what happened to me in the past. Because of that, she placed me back into foster care. I felt like a dog being adopted from an animal shelter and then being returned to be put to sleep. I felt unloved and worthless.
I turned to alcohol and drugs to cope with my pain. I met my husband through a drug deal. He was extremely abusive, and it wasn't long before the man I married became my trafficker.
I finally said enough is enough and went to someone I thought could help me. She was a therapist and she called Path. It was here that I began to realize God loves me and I wanted to start living for Him.
I love Path. We do so much fun stuff. I love my new sisters in our home.
I'm beginning to live life again with my family's support and love and God's provisions.
I thank God for people like Miss Louise and Miss Lindsay, as well as the volunteers that take such good care of me and keep on loving me even when I feel unlovable.
Miss Louise is my hero. She teaches me so much. Now I can learn how to be a new woman in Christ. Because my mother took her own life and left me here alone, I wanted to die to go be with her. But now I have a new mother figure that God sent to me. I told her all my deep, dark secrets, and she loves me anyway. She never called me any mean names like so many others have, or give up on me when I decided to leave Path back in August. Still, she believed in me and prayed for me. She kept my secrets safe, but now I'm going to tell them to you so that we can help other women and so that we can end human trafficking in their lives too, because girls deserve a chance.